Okay, let's talk about a word that so many of us use on complete autopilot, sorry. But what if that automatic apology isn't a weakness at all? What if it's actually a sign of a really sophisticated hidden survival logic that's running in the background? Today, we're going to unpack that logic and completely reframe this common habit.
No, seriously, think about it for a second. You're just walking down the street, minding your own business, and someone else slams right into you. And what's the very first thing that flies out of your mouth? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, if you're nodding along right now, you are in exactly the right place.
Because here's the wild part. This reflex is so much deeper than just being polite or, maybe a little insecure. It's actually a subconscious strategy, a powerful protective instinct that's working behind the scenes for one very specific reason, to keep you safe.
So let's start right there, on the surface, with what we can call the sorry reflex. We're going to really pull apart this autopilot response and get to the psychology behind why it's so much more than just a bad habit.
This automatic sorry is kind of like a Swiss Army knife for social situations. At its very core, it's about self-protection, but it's also a social lubricant, right? It's meant to avoid conflict. It's a way to soften our presence, to seem smaller, less threatening. And sometimes it can even be a symptom of imposter syndrome, that nagging feeling that you have to apologize just for taking up space. Okay, so that sorry reflex, it's one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. Let's zoom out a little and look at the whole pattern that it belongs to. People-pleasing.
And this pattern, well, it shows up in a lot of ways you might recognize. It's that constant difficulty setting boundaries. It's always saying sorry. It's being hyper-aware of everyone's moods, always scanning the room. It's feeling like you have to be the fixer or the peacemaker in every situation. It's that constant agreeableness, even when, deep down, you don't agree at all. But what if this goes way deeper than just wanting to be liked? And this is where we need to make a really crucial distinction. It's so important to separate people-pleasing, which is often a conscious strategy we learn to get approval, from something much deeper called fawning. See, fawning isn't a choice. It's an unconscious, automatic reflex. It's a survival instinct that comes from trauma, and it has only one goal: to neutralize what feels like a threat.
So, let's properly meet this powerful and honestly often misunderstood survival instinct. This one concept is the key that unlocks this entire puzzle. We've all heard of the classic trauma responses, right? Fight, flight, and freeze. But psychotherapists now recognize a fourth fundamental response, and it's the one that explains so much about this behavior. And that is the fawn response. The psychotherapist Pete Walker, who actually coined the term, defines it like this. Fawn types seek safety by merging with the wishes, needs, and demands of others. To put it another way, it feels like the price of admission to any relationship is giving up all of your own needs, your own rights, and your own boundaries. So how does a response like this even get wired into us? Well, it often starts in a childhood where expressing yourself just wasn't safe. A child learns really quickly that protesting or even just saying no leads to punishment or retaliation. So that natural fight response gets shut down, and they discover that the only real path to safety is to become useful, to serve others. And over time, that pattern of erasing yourself becomes an automatic, instinctual response to any perceived threat, even in adulthood. Now, what's so fascinating about all this is that modern science is giving us a new and way more empowering way to understand this instinct. We're moving beyond just the psychology and getting into our actual neurobiology. For years, people used the term Stockholm Syndrome to try and explain this kind of behavior, but honestly, it's a pretty flawed concept that often just makes survivors feel ashamed. Researchers now have a much better term: appeasement. Appeasement doesn't invent some weird mutual bond, it correctly focuses on the power imbalance. And most importantly, it frames the behavior for what it is: a brilliant, adaptive strategy to stay safe. It normalizes it as a skill. And the science behind this idea of appeasement is rooted in something called polyvagal theory. Now, you don't need to know all the nerdy details, just this one crucial point. Our nervous system's #1 most fundamental drive, above everything else, is to feel safe. Every single one of these behaviors we've talked about, whether it's conscious or not, is ultimately trying to achieve that primary goal. The actual mechanism that makes appeasement work is called co-regulation. This is this incredible unconscious process where your nervous system can literally influence and calm down someone else's. By sending out these subtle cues of safety, like a calm voice or agreeable body language, A person can strategically and instinctively de-escalate a threat. It's an amazing biological tool.
So let's bring all of this together. It's time to stop seeing this trait as a flaw and start seeing it for what it truly is, a highly developed survival superpower.
Just let this one sink in for a minute. What looks from the outside like simple people-pleasing is, from the inside, a sophisticated threat neutralization program running silently in the background. It isn't about wanting everyone to like you, it's about needing everyone to be calm around you. It's all about safety. So, if you recognize any of this in yourself, you really need to hear this. It is not a weakness. It is a set of highly developed skills. You likely have hyperempathy, high emotional attunement, and an expert instinctual ability to de-escalate conflict before it even starts. Your brain has been fine-tuned your entire life to be an absolute expert at reading and navigating social dynamics. The most crucial takeaway is this. This is the logic of survival, not a personal flaw. It is a feature of your operating system, not a bug. It developed for a very good reason, to keep you safe. And just knowing that is the first step towards seeing yourself in a whole new and much more compassionate light. And that leads us to a final thought. You have this highly attuned emotional sensor. The goal isn't to get rid of it. The real question is, now that you know it's there, and now that you understand why it exists, what can you do with this incredible skill now that you can start using it with awareness?